That's great. And then I am currently going straight to Facebook right now.
Fantastic.
So get comfortable.
Yay.
All right. Right. Let's see.
It's like, get comfortable and be quiet.
Yeah. All right.
Just take that pretty pose, right?
Yes. Okay, I think we're live. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth segment of Literacy is Life, where we focus on redefining what literacy is. I am your host / moderator, Jessa. Again, I am the Community Engagement Vista at the Alliance. We are focusing on digital literacy in this segment. This segment is very exciting to me. I grew up in the time of digital literacy. You know, I'm a late 90s kid, so I kind of know a little bit about it. But we have some great guest speakers today. Again, this campaign is meant to highlight great community members who are doing terrific initiatives in the community. And, you know, basically having a conversation about literacy, redefining what it is, as I said before. So welcome to our guest speakers. Our guest speakers that we have today is Jackie Aguilera. She is with the Mayor's Office of Adult Literacy. She is the project manager. And we have Dr. Christina Robinson. She is the executive director of adult education and literacy programs at Houston Community College. Thank you guys for joining me on this segment. I'm very excited to hear about your guys' experiences in digital literacy. So thank you. So we can just kind of start off as usual, like we've done in previous segments, kind of talking about who you are, what you do, and really focus on your personal narrative. Talk about why you're passionate about literacy, specifically digital literacy. And yeah, so Jackie, you can start us off.
All right, alphabetical here. So yeah. Hi, I'm Jackie Aguilera. I am the project manager for the Mayor's Office for Adult Literacy. And we are basically advocacy, outreach, research on the local government level, sponsored through the mayor and in partnership with Houston Public Library. And we represent over 40 different agencies across the greater Houston area. One of those great partners is with me today, which is HCC, Christina Robinson, and y'all get to meet her shortly. But on my narrative part, you guys, you know, I'm just a wee bit older than the natural technology born natives, and I went kicking and screaming. I was like, what? And it's been a journey of decades from learning code and doing those fancy little sheet printouts with little animals and stuff, all the way to actually learning practical uses. I still am a learner. I am a newbie. I am learning every day from everyone around me. But one thing that I do know is life, opportunity, equality, access, surrounded by technology. There is no escaping it. And if you are truly not going to become primordial ooze and a dinosaur, if you're going to evolve and actually participate in 22nd century living, you have to embrace technology and learn how to use it, which is where adult education comes in, giving you the skills and the training. And I tell you, it's been a wonderful journey, one that I've been able to participate with pilot programs for apps, for online games that I never would have imagined doing before. And all these things were always seen as, wow, those are kind of cute extracurricular things. Even got involved with something called X Prize, which is a world competition on developing apps, sponsored by the Barbara Bush National Literacy Foundation. Ended up with my partners in Houston, forming a small team, winning an award for that right before the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, everyone who participated or had a distance learning program or participated again in that project, which thank you, Christina, you guys were part of that too. When everyone was closing their doors, Those guys kept them open. And over 9,000 people during the hardest times of the pandemic were still served. And that's what really excites me about technology, is what we can do.
Yeah, that was a lot. Only to say, because you are passionate, and it's funny that your story comes from you not actually liking technology. And now here you are spearheading all of these different initiatives, different app creations, and essentially helps community members at the ground level, be integrated into digital literacy, which is the most important part. So Dr. Christina, please introduce yourself, your background. Why are you passionate about digital literacy?
Definitely. Well, I'm Dr. Christina Robinson. I'm the Executive Director of Adult Education and Literacy Programs for Houston Community College. And, I think digital literacy, there's so many things that fall under that umbrella these days, right? I think when COVID hit, I know for our program, we were 100% paper pretty much. And then COVID hit, and although we had been working on it, we really hadn't been pushed to get digital, right? And so COVID hit, we said, oh my gosh, we've got to get digital. Let's go there. And so what we found was it wasn't just our faculty that were not necessarily prepared for that. Our students weren't prepared. And then we also had a large number of individuals from across the city that just weren't used to dealing with that kind of situation. So we went and we said, okay, how are we going to make this happen? And so as a result, we had to create numerous YouTube videos. We had to integrate digital literacy into every class that we had, specifically on the front end of every class. And more importantly, how do I get enrolled in a class? Because once again, everything was digital. And I would say one of the biggest things that impacts us and still today was we had to figure out, how do we deliver service virtually in this digital world? And so we created a Zoom lobby because that was the best way to deal with students. And, I would say a year ago, I would have never thought that every service we provided would be in a virtual lobby. But we found out, wow, students could just hop on via their cell phones. They didn't necessarily have to come to campus. And to give you an idea, Monday, we serviced almost 600 students in our virtual lobby for adult ed, right? I could never have done that across all of my sites, right? So it's exciting. In addition, digital literacy, students used to take 3 to 4 hours to go through an orientation, and now it takes them 1, right? What a difference a digital change has made for our students. So I'm passionate about digital literacy, more importantly though, because when these students go out and they get a job, they need to have the fundamental skills. How do I open a laptop? How do I get a mouse to work? What's Adobe? I've never used Adobe before. So, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of the things that we're maybe used to using all the time in our day-to-day work life, they aren't. They're just used to using a cell phone. And so I think never more before has remote instruction and digital literacy been so critical to the success of one's future. And as companies across the country are moving more and more remote or hybrid, our students now have the ability to actually go to work for those companies because they're much more knowledgeable.
Yeah, most definitely. And you and Jackie actually touched on an important part about digital literacy, right? Because there is I don't want to say half, but I'm gonna just say half, like half of them are like, yes, I'm gonna embrace this. I want to know as much about digital literacy as much as I will embrace it as much as I can. And then there's the other part who's totally against it, does not want to do anything about it, because, okay, so when I graduated from college, I was the pandemic graduation. I graduated May 2020.
Wow.
And when everything shut down, thank you. And so when everything shut down, it was March 2020. And my university also had to go through a similar problem, How are we going to get everyone online? Because essentially we were shutting everything down. No one was allowed on campus. No one could come onto campus and do stuff. Yep. So I guess my question is, how can we dispel that distrust of technology for those people who, you know, are kind of weary of technology? Like, what do you think is the biggest kind of barrier for them to kind of accept this? Anyone could go.
Sure. Well, I'll say fear. I think that's the biggest barrier is fear, because they come in and they're so scared to even get on the computer, right? And once, you know, we have a system now that we use for digital enrollment, right? And it's called OneFlow. And when students first see it, they're so intimidated because, oh my gosh, it's the system. But once we show them how to use it, they're like, this is great. So, you know, it's that fear of doing the unknown, and more importantly, getting them out of that comfort level, because many of them only have a cell phone, or they've only used paper. And you know, I say all the time, who wants to stand at the DMV for 5 hours? I know I don't, right? So if you can do the same thing online and sit in the comfort of your home and fill out that application, and then have somebody available to answer a question or share screens, how much better is that? Because that's like real-time live help. And so I think that fear of the unknown, and also fear of, what if I do something wrong? Yep. Many of them think, oh, well, if I touch this button or that button, I'm going to lose everything, or I'm going to kill my computer. And so, I think fear is a huge aspect.
You know, I want to piggyback on that too. It's simple change. We're comfortable, you know, and if you look at pre-pandemic, and to Christina's point, we were playing with a lot of these models, with this technology, with a lot of phone apps. Everything was these great, wonderful, wonderful ideas and proposals, but we weren't yet embracing it as a part of what we do every day. Seemingly, you know, looking at this is still a luxury item, a luxury option. Looking at funding sources that really looked at digital learning as proxy hours, as this was just something extra. It really wasn't face-to-face in real instruction, and coming across really a mindset pre-pandemic that went back hundreds of years. Now, here we are post-pandemic. And again, you know, we're in 22nd century. We're living the 21st century, but we used to say we got to focus on the 21st century. No, now we have to focus on the 22nd century, which means everyone out there, we're going from Flintstones to Jetsons, and we did it in about a year and a half, and we're still doing it. We have to want and be able to experience change. It has nothing to do with liking it. You might still hate technology and computers. You might still think this is phooey. I was much happier with paper and pencil. But guess what? If you're going to achieve your goals, if you're going to participate in the opportunities that are evolving around you, you have to adapt. And that is one of the things that I think our greatest success post-pandemic is proving to ourselves just how much we can adapt to environments that we are not necessarily happy with, but we can do it. And then, as Christina said, we can learn just how much more we can do. And it's okay if you don't like it, but try it, because you just don't know what you might get out of it. And, you know, it's forward thinking. It's something that's different, but definitely if we're going to participate in the culture, in the opportunities, in the evolving economy, and more importantly, taking care of our children and our families, then this is something that we must invest in for ourselves.
You know, I tell my team, adapt or die, right? And so we say adapt or die. Inspiration comes in many ways, right? You can be forced to adapt, or you can adapt on your own and hope it comes with you, right? And so I think we are still adapting, right? We're still making those changes. Even today, I was in a meeting with my team, and I was like, this is going really well, but what if we did this? And I know for those adult ed people testing in a digital world, what a challenge that has been, to train people and get them to learn, how do I test a student remotely and make sure that it's the same kind of quality as if I'm face to face. And, we've been able to figure it out, but it's that adapting and saying, hey, what, this worked, but this didn't work, and that's okay. And so, we have to make sure that we continue to adapt in ways that we can for the progress, that digital progress of our students and our staff and our faculty, because I know we're really excited. We're looking at some new apps and things that have come out that has just really enhanced instruction. And we wouldn't be there, I don't believe, if we hadn't had this forced adaptation, adaptation.
And, I want to applaud something else Christina said just a moment ago, not being afraid of mistakes. I think that's something else we've learned during the pandemic. We've learned during our Zoom experiences. Things are going to go wrong. We're learning them. Even the technology itself was not developed for the worldwide demand that happened basically in an instant for platforms that were just trying to sell us on the idea of trying them. One of the things that we point out, and if you see this thing back here, the blueprint, and Christina was part of this as well. We spent 6 months investigating, asking questions, having a collaborative session with community leaders, stakeholders all across the board to develop a blueprint on adult literacy, not just to see, oh, what's up, but of course, where are we going? That's the most important part. And the blueprint has a guide. On goal 5 is all about digital literacy. It's about evolution, about partnerships, and taking those next steps. I was excited when Christina could be a part of this because she has done phenomenal work with a great business you all have heard of before called Gallery Furniture. And I do not want this time to escape without her having an opportunity to share what she was able to do during the pandemic that people would go, what? And she did it. And it shows you what collaborations and partnerships can do and what we're trying to do with our strategies and goals in the blueprint. So I don't know, Christina, Jessa, do you mind? I'm just like,
no, tell
I'm starstruck with Christina right now. So
I am intrigued. I want to know.
No, so we had this amazing opportunity during the pandemic. Gallery Furniture Work Texas, and obviously my amazing team and a variety of other individuals to put together something that was really unique. If you recall, a lot of the trades shut down because there just wasn't a place. I know colleges were shut down, and Gallery Furniture and team, the Work Texas team came and said, hey, we have a site. Can we make this work? And we said, yes, we can, and collaborated with a whole team of individuals, and we're able to put a large number of students through programs like electrical, HVAC, or Home Builders Institute, a whole welding programs. And we've continued to expand that over the last year. We actually had our first class started in August of 2020. And now, a year down the road, I believe we just had our second graduation class. And we're about to start our next cohort of individuals. And, the great thing about this is it's a one-stop shop for students. They come in, they can get financial literacy, digital literacy, resume reviewing, virtual job fairs, childcare. Everything is in one place. And it's just been an amazing partnership. We look to continue and expand it and hopefully duplicate it, right, at other places across the city, if at all possible. But what it shows is that if you get a group of people in the room, you collaborate, you put a plan together and say, we know COVID's here, but there's got to be a way to help these individuals continue, because you can imagine the disappointment of students that started a program and then they hear, oh, sorry, your class is canceled due to COVID, or maybe it got moved online, so they weren't able to complete certain skill sets. And so through this collaboration, we were able to put those students through a program and continue to put students through this program where they can then immediately go to work and or apprentice. And so, yeah, it's been super exciting and quite a learning experience.
Awesome.
That's crazy. I mean, yeah, I never knew the extent of it, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, that's, you are filling the gap. You know, again,
We're doing our best.
we talked about in the past 4 segments of this campaign, we have talked about the fact that there is a gap in literacy and how can we reach that gap? And you are creating initiatives in order to get to community members, to get to students, and essentially say, hey, like, this pandemic sucks. You know, this pandemic is, has forced us to adapt, and they might be lacking resources, but you guys said, like, no,
we find them, right? We go and find the resources.
Yeah,
and so,
that's right.
Yeah,
Jackie knows I call her all the time.
That's
yeah. We're not going to leave you in the dust, type of thing.
That's right. And that area of town, Acres Homes, is such a high need, high growth, not high growth, but high need from both a digital and an educational level, that, we're just so appreciative of them for the partnership.
Yeah, and for a fact, I mean, another important point that you both also pointed out is that there are still community members that lack access. I think one of the biggest things, right, even though we do have to adapt and we do have to accept digital literacy into our lives, another big thing is the lack of accessibility to the resources needed to have digital literacy. And I wanted to ask what makes it difficult for community members to get affordable technology in order to learn. I mean, laptops are crazy expensive still, and the laptops are needed in this century. To this day, what are we doing this on? We're doing this on our laptops. We're doing this on our phones. So yeah, what makes it difficult for community members to get this technology, to get affordable technology?
Part of it, like Christina said, the lack of partnerships, the lack of collaborations, the lack of a voice, someone to represent the people in the communities. This is one of the most important parts of our office, is making sure that we are connected with partners who have the boots on the ground, who are doing the work in the communities, so that we can find out, what do you need? What do your people need? Because it doesn't matter what we think you need. That's not what we're here for. This office is here to serve. We're here to support and help create collaborations and resources. Now, practical reasons. If I have to choose, and I used to be at Eastside University, it's a school in 3rd Ward, one of the most fastest growing and yet still challenged neighborhoods, like a lot of the complete communities across Greater Houston, similar to Acres Homes. And here you have, if I'm trying to decide if I'm going to leave the lights on or buy food for my children, or if I'm going to have enough money to get transportation, and I'm going to have the internet, and I'm going to have a computer, and I'm going to have all this stuff, I'm sorry. There are basic needs. So important funding efforts, like the Recovery Act funding, the funding that's coming down to support technology. And you guys, I highly encourage all of you, reach out to your decision makers, reach out to our politicians, let them know the great work like HCC, Dr. Christina Robinson, the things that are going on that impact. Reach out to your representatives, let them know what's happening, because there is an adult education provider in the area. What kinds of changes are happening because technology was used during the pandemic? What kind of outcomes were there? And how much more could be done if an increased investment were made in technology access, and more importantly, skills and training education to know how to use those wonderful tools. Right now, Texas has an allocation, and this is federal funding spending. Christina, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's roughly a whopping a little over $760 a student or so. And so, really, realistically,
millions of dollars.
Hello. I mean, you break that down per student, and you actually factor in what it really costs to train someone, not only to be a good worker, but a good member of the community and a good parent to their child. And that kind of investment, the return goes on just widely. Christina, your thoughts?
Yeah, so well, I have to say I've been working on this for a while because we know laptops are so important for adult ed. If there's one kind of student that needs it, an adult ed student definitely needs it. And we just secured a partnership with our library, and our students can now check out Chromebooks during their class. So I am so excited. It just started actually on August 23rd. So adult education students at HCC now have that accessibility because they are college students, right? Which is huge for these students, but also collaborations across the city, right? We know truly for any individual to be successful, now that we moved into this online world, they need more than a phone, they need more than an iPad or quite a Kindle or whatever somebody might have donated, right? They need a laptop or a Chromebook, something that's usable. And Chromebooks are so affordable in many ways, and they will accommodate the things that we need for our students to do. So I would say, if you're watching this, obviously from an advocacy perspective, yes, we need laptops. I think all of our providers need laptops and services in a way, or some kind of a lend out kind of process. But I will mention, with CARES funding and HERF funding and all the other funding that's out there, it's a matter of taking that funding and using it in ways that we can leverage it for resources. And so, that's been one great thing that has been a result of this, is that it has really transformed adult education in so many ways. Last year this time versus this year this time, the number of students that do have access, because now it's free access, right? They can go. I know if we look at our college, for example, we put Wi-Fi in our parking garages. So students could sit in the parking garage and use a laptop. That wouldn't have even been a consideration maybe 2 years ago.
Yep.
So it's truly transformed, and I think we're continuing this transformation. I know we are, and we will continue to. And we recently had an event. We call it our AEL Symposium, and it's a week-long training for all of our faculty. And I would say 3 full days were focused on digital items, right? And we say, what's the new normal? No, we're not going back. We are moving forward, and we're going to move forward even faster now and more creatively, because you know what? This actually works. Has it changed how we operate? Absolutely. Has it changed our roles? Definitely. But more importantly, it has made us very effective in educating students and supporting students. But once again, and I want to make sure I emphasize this, giving them the skills that's gonna take them into the workforce or take them into an associate's program. Because if we don't teach them those fundamentals, then we're really not doing our job, in my opinion. So, I said, what's a GED if you don't know how to use a computer? It's great that you got the GED, but we want you to have the GED and actually be able to take that GED and take it to a company and say, not only do I have my GED, but I can use Word, I can use Excel, I can use PowerPoint, and I can turn on my computer.
There we go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. That's super important nowadays. And as we close out our discussion, which is actually, it's crazy that the time has passed by so fast, and there's so much more about digital literacy that we could talk about.
Exactly.
A question that I definitely want to ask is, how do we complement our lives to integrate technology? I think I have gotten the hang of it, but I think it's because I grew up with it. And I was also not taught to do this stuff either. I had to teach myself, I had to teach my family as well. And granted, I still make mistakes. I'm hoping that this hotspot is still it's still carrying this live. It's still carrying this live. And I think this is again an echo to those who have that fear of the unknown, or are scared of change. how do we, maybe, is there an easier way to kind of ease ourselves into it? I know that right now, right, like we need it more than ever. Like we can't just ease ourselves into it. We just need to, we need to be able to adapt. But with the lack of access, with the lack of partnerships, like you guys said,
you know,
yeah.
the key is the partnerships and opportunities.
Yeah.
We have had two really great initiatives just recently, all under a model we call Drive Up for Literacy. We partnered with Houston Public Library, and we have had a huge, beautiful relationship with the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation, and a donation through Marathon Oil of laptop computers, laptop kits through the CARES Act funding, and using those relationships with partners to give a reason to learn the technology. And that's the whole thing. Give me a reason to learn something that means something to me, and I think I'll want to use it. I don't know, Christina, I know we got a couple seconds. What's your throw in?
I absolutely agree with you. You know, you were mentioning, Justin, that, you know, you've been doing this all the time, and a lot of our students, they're over 25 years of age. And so a lot of them haven't. But I will tell you, if anything, you know, it's kind of a joke. It's like, are you going to get me on WebEx, Teams, Zoom? You know, what format are you going to talk to me on, right? And I have them all on my cell phone here, you know, and sometimes I have to ask my son, you know, I'm like, which one do you like? You know, because as individuals are coming up, you know, different people like different systems. And I know we went to a Zoom model because so many parents were comfortable with Zoom because of their kids. And so I think if we think about it from the perspective of what's going to be best for that student, I know me personally, I live by my Outlook calendar every day, you know, more so now because we're in a remote environment, you know, and so many things are scheduled back to back to back, right? And we can do that because we're in that digital environment. So, you know, I appreciate technology. I have to say, I think all of us, we just have to make sure we balance technology in life, right? Because it's easy to get the shades of gray there.
Yeah, I mean, we always have, you know, those movies, those dystopian movies are always about technology, like somehow getting back to us. And I never found that realistic, to be honest. Yeah, but maybe it is, you know, an actual reality for some people. But I think technology should be appreciated. I know there is a stigma for it. There is that, again, fear of unknown, but what you guys have shared today has, I hope, provided people with some clarity. Oh, hey, I was
Speaking of technology, excuse me.
Yeah, so I was like, you know, provided people with some clarity, provided maybe some organizations on different alternatives on how to actually provide resources for our community members. And again, that is the most important thing about literacy in general, is how to close that gap. And digital literacy, whether or not we like it, is part of literacy now. So again, since our, you know, we've passed 30 minutes.
I know, it's like poof.
I know, but again, I just want to thank both of you for sharing your expertise, sharing your knowledge, sharing your experiences about digital literacy. And next week, Monday, is the final segment of Literacy is Life. I know it's gone by pretty fast. You know, this is our 4th installment, and the last one will be on Monday, same time, same place. Again, thank you, Dr. Christina, and thank you, Jackie, for joining me. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I hope everyone has a good rest of your day. But other than that,
thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.